Eastern time. So happy to be here again with one of my favorite, if not the favorite, co-host and host, Kelly today. And our key word is celebration. And, we'd love to hear what celebration means to you, or even what are you celebrating now? And I think if we can start to focus in the conversation into something that someone's really happy about, that goes a long way to build happiness among others and maybe encourage other people to figure out what they should be celebrating that's
Mhm.
getting passed by. So, with that, chat's open. We really, really appreciate when you utilize it to help us guide our thoughts and our responses to you. And this wouldn't be possible without you. So, before we get a deluge of comments, Kelly, why don't you bring everybody up to date and what's your thoughts on celebration?
Yes. Well, I told Don right before we came live, I go, I feel like we need to have Cool in the Gang playing in the background. Am I alone in this? I mean, I think not. But celebration, obviously, is such a great word and another topic that can go in so many directions. And it goes along with gratitude for me. I celebrate every morning. I wake up on this side of the
Mhm.
dirt. So, that's how it all starts. And I think it just applies to so many things of how, and this is going to go all to mindset, which is what we're always focused on, is about mindset, is celebrating the small things.
Mhm.
Um, everybody knows I've been on some stuff. I'm moving. Look, I've got my nice little straw hat back here, Don. Nod to you. Maybe I should have worn that today. And I am celebrating the fact that my move will be moved. Wednesday is the day. And so I can't wait for that. And then celebrating, I want to say that the small things, but they're not small. I think some of the smallest, or the things that seem so small, are actually really big things. This community, as an example, is something to celebrate. I mean, what a wonderful thing that
Mhm.
has been put together for us to come together every day in community and celebrate each other in whatever way that we can. If it's about celebrating someone who's accomplished something else, or just giving props, that all feels so wonderful, and it's so beautiful, and definitely worth celebrating. So I give it back to the community, and I do want to know, hey, what are y'all celebrating today? Or now that we're talking about it, what is it reminding you to celebrate today?
Yeah, I think those are very, very strong insights because when we're talking about words, whether they're celebrate or intention or all the other words we have come up with, is applying them to something and applying things to them,
Yeah.
right? Celebrate what? And usually celebrations really get equated with holidays, right? Celebrate Halloween, celebrate Christmas, celebrate Easter, celebrate. And so it's not just the person,
Mhm.
it's an event,
Yes.
that includes lots of people, right? The bigger the event, the bigger the celebration. I mean, whether it's 4th of July or whatever. And I think to Kelly's point, those are majors. But
Mhm.
there's other important personalized events, like anniversaries, birthdays, that are only yours. And how often do you celebrate those? And how do you celebrate those? Because I see a lot of people when they started out, they're buying things for each other. And after a while, it's like, well, I didn't buy you a card. Is it okay if you don't send me a card? And, what happened in between?
Yeah.
When did something take the time to celebrate
Mhm.
and also the effort to make it a good celebration? And I always say, you always come home to yourself,
Mhm.
and if you can be your happiest, best self and support yourself,
Yeah.
celebrating even alone is still a celebration of something, right? If you need something to make it happen, then that's another word probably somewhere we should get into. But before we go too deep, let me just bring the audience in because that's what we're all about.
Yeah.
Varshis, hi, thank you for being here. Dean, just a great guy. I mean, if you don't know Dean, if you haven't reached out to him, today's a day to celebrate Dean. You know,
Yes.
so, Dean, it's your day. Andrea's here. Thank you so much. Andrea will be here Tuesday. She's got such a warm heart and a giving
Mhm.
spirit that whatever word we deal with, she always brings a brighter, happier side to it. You know, we're not looking for reality here. We're
Yeah.
looking for future opportunity and expectation.
Mhm.
You can get reality anywhere. Uh, and it's not even real sometimes.
Yeah.
And here's Omar. Great to have you. You know, just Zoom party to come up with that name, to have a show, to invite guests to it, and to do it to support kids. I mean,
Amazing.
that in itself is lends itself to great imagination, creativity, and now you've got a sandbox to play in, right?
Mhm.
And develop something from there. You know, if people look at this as stages instead of all or nothing or today, tomorrow, get it done. Uh, you know, if you spend the rest of your life improving yourself, improving others on a regular day to day basis, that's the journey you want to stay on,
Amen.
right? If you're
Yeah.
there, be there. Uh, let's have a great morning for sure. Andrea comes back with we should never forget to celebrate ourselves to start with, no matter how small the event, and make time and of the week to celebrate yourself. I mean, how many times have you been with somebody and you say, they sure stretched me out today? You know,
Mhm.
this should have taken 20 minutes and it ended up taking an hour. And then meanwhile, it's usually your 40 minutes you had to give up that day to make it happen. You know, there's a strategy or philosophy that says pay yourself first
Mhm.
because then you're always guaranteed your check from yourself. And a lot of people pay everyone and they're the last to get paid or not being paid.
Yeah.
And it doesn't serve them when you're not fulfilled. So, you know, that's where celebration comes in. Celebration does happiness and simple money last thing. Well, I think what you're trying to say there is money can't buy happiness,
Right.
and happiness isn't money
Mm-mm.
if that's all there is, because there's too much of you that isn't being served with a bank account, right? So, Kelly, what do you think? I mean, the beauty of what we're doing is people are really thinking about what we're talking about and then coming back with even better things or the same type of things we've
Yes.
been doing.
I love it. I mean, and it does go on what you just said a little bit earlier in the sense of, stretching us. Um, I feel, as long as I'm on this planet to learn, I want to learn as much as possible. And one of the things that I definitely want to celebrate is I was so blessed to be able to share part of my morning yesterday with Andrea and a small group of people, which included Ice and Kim Morris. Um, and it was wonderful. It was a celebration of self. And to go on what you just said too, Dawn, is we don't take enough time to do that. And I sometimes forget because I'm so involved in doing things for everyone else, and which is wonderful, and I wouldn't change it. But sometimes I forget, you know what? I need to take a step back and do a little bit of celebrating me. And what does
Mhm.
that mean to you? Does that mean, self care? Does that mean, like Don always says, go plan on having a piece of cake on Thursdays at 4 p.m. to celebrate you? Or whatever that looks like. And celebrating me was taking Andrea's free course that she was so gracious to offer through here, um, a free group training that was fantastic. And I encourage anyone to please, if she offers anything like that, jump on it. It will be worth it. You will definitely celebrate you and others afterwards. Um, and just with, Omar, different sense of celebration, him doing his Jeopardy on, because I don't know how to say the word and I feel like I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but it is Jeopardy brought to life. And he did the couples version a couple days ago. And it was fantastic. And you're right. The fact that he is doing it to give back to children, charities here locally is wonderful. I mean, what a thing to celebrate, the fact that someone is taking their time to put together something that's so unique and fun for us to watch and participate in, that gives back to community. I mean, that is definitely something to celebrate. And I think if we all just take a moment, and maybe because it's Sunday, I feel a little bit more, I don't want to say I feel more grateful on a Sunday than I do any other day, but it is a time, I think, for most of us, especially from the work perspective, to be like, okay, the new week has started, and how am I going to frame it and go into it, and celebrating what we've accomplished to get to this point right now. I do believe that's something we don't take enough time to do. People are always saying, don't look in the rearview mirror. Don't do that. Keep going forward. Keep going forward. No, no. You need to every once in a while slow down and take a look and be like, wow, I did all of that this week, and celebrate you. Celebrate the wins that went along the way or what propelled you to move forward, because we do tend to focus on, man, I didn't get as much stuff as I wanted to get done. And we focus on what we didn't do instead of what we did do. So I don't know. I think that's something that I would be interested to hear what others have to say about, that is celebrating your accomplishments for the week. I think that's a great practice. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think I'm right on there with you as far as being aligned with that because the game is between you and yourself, and the better friends you can make with yourself, the better you're going to be because you're always going to be together and you're going to need each other, right? So who's supporting? I mean, it's almost like it is detaching in a way, but that voice in your head is the one that directs your attitude, which creates your thoughts, which then go into action or not. And I think a reset, celebrating a reinvention, right? Just like when they pull the curtains and a new model car shows up, right? And all the beautiful people are around it, and they start telling you about the new features, why you should trade your old one in. Well, I keep coming up with examples of things that everybody says, yeah, I can see that. You know, Actually, I expect that when something like that happens. But when it comes to themselves, it's not as easy to sell a car and trade one in as it is to change yourself because in most cases, you're changing the people when you change yourself around you, right? If you decide to go to another city, you've just made a change for them too,
Mhm.
right? And I think what we're doing and hopefully doing is really being able to create communities that don't have to leave each other to grow,
Mhm.
right? Because they're not physical. Everybody's connected from a different place. What I do see, what you mentioned, which really brings a lot to mind, is the ability to not only support people but take advantage of what people are sharing,
Yeah.
right? So if they're doing a class, if they've got a show, even if it's just for a few minutes, show up when you can, just to show support, right? So many people, if I can't do the whole hour, I won't do it. Well, what? Who's hurting who, right?
Right.
If you have 40 minutes of nothing to do. So I think a lot of people overthink, and especially when it comes to other people. And I think if you celebrate yourself for just knowing things are going to change, even if you don't know what the change is, you don't know how it's going to happen. But if you're around people who are into change and they're changing,
Yep.
how long will it take before you start changing? And it's the hope for a better future that
Mhm.
makes people commit to it. So the point I was trying to make with Andrea's class, which I thought was very generous and thoughtful, and look at all the visibility and promotion it gets
Mhm.
sincerely, right? And
Yep.
so, and to tie that in with yesterday, Leslie, before we started, says, I've got 5 slides I'd like to share, but I want you to tell me if that's okay and how it would work and blah, blah, blah. And I said, hey, that's great. It's something new, something different.
Yeah.
The numbers went through the roof. And what I'm thinking, if someone's got something really that they loved using or sharing that got great success for them, I'm into sharing that with the group. And
Mhm.
it should be to help, to give, not to sell,
Yes.
right? So it's not like, here's my new 6-week package,
Right.
right? It could
Right.
be like I think Paul would be great sharing his presentation on the 10 pillars, right? Or the greatest salesman have
Yes.
something for five
Ogden
minutes or something like that. So, that way it's not just, what do you think? What do you think?
Mhm.
It's like, what did you bring for us today?
Mhm.
What dessert or treat do you have to share? And I think that would add more value, because for a show to grow and get better, it has to continue to offer greater and greater value. And
That's
it
right.
should, because it's coming from all of the people here. So if
Mhm.
you have 40, 50 people and someone says, 10 years ago, I was doing this program, right? And really what we're dealing with is evergreen information.
That's right.
So with that, what do you think, Kelly? I mean, Andrea's really lit up here.
Oh, great.
And Olu, if you don't know, that's
Yes.
uh,
Yay.
his
He's
his his nickname. Thank you so much. It saves us from not
yes,
saying it as
butchering
correctly as we
it.
could or we want to. Dean's. Oh, well, here's Valerie. Valerie's just great. Uh, Valerie's got a great story. Nicole yesterday requested to have a show with Leslie because they
Oh,
align so much. And sometimes it's just 4 or 5 people that really blow up the comments because
yes.
interacting, right? They're not just getting an answer, they're getting like, okay, and what about this and what about that? Uh, what's your thoughts, Kelly? I think we built something here that's oh, here's one from Omar. You are correct. We always need to celebrate what we do. At my corporate job, I got a high grade for my quality from my supervisor. Today is a celebration. Thanks for the Zoom party to mention. If you're here enough, everybody will know exactly what you're doing over
So
time. Yeah.
yes, and I think, one of the things that you said in there that I wanna definitely highlight is everyone here, one of the other things that I love, which is many about being here and having the privilege and the honor to be on this side, um, is that everyone supports each other. I I try to drop into as many other events that other people do. If I can't stay the whole time, I still drop in because and I recommend everybody does that just because think about from your side how it makes you feel when you're like, "Oh my gosh, they took 5 minutes to drop in just to say hi and I'm supporting you." Like that feels so great and definitely worthy of a celebration. Because I think so many people now are starting to do their own shows or maybe doing them more often, feeling more confident. And I mean, I see everybody kind of everywhere, which is sort of cool. Um, to go from this show to another one and then see some familiar faces, which is so great. And I think one of the things I want to go back with uh, Andrea and her, or Leslie, I'm sorry, in her PowerPoint, because I did drop in during a break from Andrea's course yesterday. We had like a 5 to 10 minute break, and I popped in while and Leslie had her slides up, and I was like, "Wow, that's awesome." I mean, it got my attention because it was something different. But I completely agree with you on the fact of, hey, don't be selling anything here because that's not what this is. This is about true human connection, which I celebrate this show every day. If I'm not watching it, I try to listen. If I'm not able to listen, I try to go back and listen to the replays simply because I feel like everyone who comes here and takes the time, that we are all looking for the same thing, which is human connection and celebrating that. I mean, getting to our word, and I feel like we're going to probably say it 8,000 times in the next hour, but I think it is a celebration every morning of being like, gosh, I get to come here and be around people that are just here to be to show up for themselves. I mean, and that alone is something to celebrate every day, and it does shift a mindset. Um, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Don?
Yeah, I think it's to follow up or compliment. I think what we have is definitely a support group.
Hmm.
A common reason for coming, and it could be Gamblers Anonymous, could be alcohol. It doesn't matter. People come together for common purpose and knowing they haven't been as successful on their own as they could be with other people. Having a workout buddy, having somebody there. And, you know, time, I always say, either promotes you or exposes you. And over time, the people who started and are staying, the people who keep coming back for others, for themselves, or for the group, or all three, are finding a better hour than they were used to somewhere else in the day. Maybe they had to give up a 3 p.m. to get an 11 a.m. But it also now gives them an opportunity not just to learn and grow from others, but become like others,
Yeah.
become a leader, not just a great follower who picks up wonderful information, applies it for good, but,
Right.
own your future. Never have to go through another person to get permission. That's the key. I've got nothing against working with people, but to work and even working for people is great, but to work under people isn't, right?
So
And I think that's where people, if they could switch gears a little bit, and people thought I could never own something or want to be the boss. Well, you're always going to be the boss of you, but then do you need another boss on top of that? Right?
mhm,
You need two ways to go. So I think by celebrating freedom, independence, choice, and having people around there who are in the same boat,
mhm,
who come here because they're not where they want to be. And I think what people realize, you're never where you want to be because there's another place.
mhm,
Right? You don't want to just get to somewhere and then go back to living the way you were living. Once you start opening up and growing and changing with a lot of great people, right? I mean, this is not trouble. I mean, this is like going to one of the best schools in the world, have no tuition, and all the teachers giving you everything they can if you'll just show up for them,
mhm,
right? And the thing about, this is new, uh, but whatever you do is going to do something for you,
mhm,
right? So, whether you get a show, whether you do a post, whether you sit in on somebody, I would put that in the celebration of activity column. Too many people into results and not into the play,
yes.
right? I mean, I was walking through a park. I mean, I'm walking like crazy here. I'm a half a block from one of the most beautiful parks, huge. Uh, I walked 7 miles 2 days ago.
Wow.
Yeah, me and
Really?
Ann walked to the park, and then we walked to the lake, which is about a mile and a half away, or the harbor, inner harbor, outer harbor, I don't know. But anyways, the point is that celebration is about what you do,
Mhm,
and eventually it may make a difference how you do at it. You know what
mhm.
I mean? But it's the doing, the learning, the joy of something new versus, hey, I didn't get my return back. Because that's another discussion.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think that, what I'm learning, everything we're talking about is within everybody's reach now,
Yeah.
right? So what do you think, Kelly? I mean,
As you were saying all that, there was a phrase that came to mind about, there's groups for, AA or whatever, and it's like, "Hi, my name is Kelly, and I am addicted to growth and to support and to happiness and to love, and that's why everybody comes here." And I think
Mhm.
it is something to celebrate that this even exists, that you came out, and I think I said this the other day. I'm like, I don't like to say that you didn't have a goal, but I don't think that you saw where this could necessarily go. You were just led to do something. And here we are this far later, and how many lives have changed for the better, who feel
Mhm.
encouraged, who feel like now I can do that. I feel I have a community. I feel I have people I can reach out to. I feel comfortable to say this thing or reach out and ask for something. That is something massive to celebrate in my mind. And I think everybody celebrates that when they come every day, because there's always something to take away from it in a positive way. And I know I've also said this many of times, is like, I challenge people to arrive here and not leave feeling better. Like, you are going to feel even better than you did when you arrived. And I mean, how that is a beautiful thing to celebrate. Where else can you do that? And it's something that the world definitely needs right now, because everywhere else that we turn, it's just, gloom and doom, and like, good Lord, I can't stand it. So this is, the dose of positive energy, optimism, support, community. We want everyone here to do amazing things. There's no competition, it's collaboration, it's support, and it is celebration. I mean, the smallest step forward is still a step forward. Just because you haven't reached where you thought you wanted to be right now doesn't mean that you haven't achieved something worthy of celebrating. And to go off something else that you said, I think we're always so focused on the end goal that we miss the celebration of the journey to get there. And because that is so important. Like, we're not present. And I'm going to use this in my business life. One of my personal things that I'm so very well aware of is, the voice in my head that I learned very young was, I'm not good enough. And I know that most of us also had that same same voice in our head. And what I did in my business career was I used that as a way to prove the I'm not good enough wrong. So I was so focused on, I want to be this. I want to be the first woman that does this. And man, I'm going to be the first woman at this boardroom table. And I'm going to do this, this, and this. I was so focused on the goal and making things happen and working so hard and so much that it consumed a big portion of my life, which means I was absent on other things, in the sense of I missed stuff along the way because I was so this, the blinders on, and you're so focused on the goal. So I think, a good takeaway is, be present in the journey to get wherever it is that you're going, and enjoy it. And don't beat yourself up for not being in where you think you should be, or how much farther someone else was that did a similar thing. Because we are, unfortunately, creatures of comparison in this world today too, with social media, and remembering, and you also made another great point about that. Reality, and most times, particularly on social media, is not reality. And we compare ourselves to things that just are not realistic. And who cares what other people are doing, in the sense of keeping you from celebrating what you're doing? Definitely encourage and support others. I'm not saying to take away from that, but you can't compare yourself of where you're going. Enjoy, celebrate you, and take that moment. And like I said, I always love you do have your, celebrate with cake story. Do something to celebrate you. If it's at the end of the day, one of the things I do, and I've mentioned this on other shows also, is I have what's called a 5-minute journal, and I've shared it in other posts before. but it is something you can get at Amazon. It's not very expensive, and it literally is 5 minutes for you to start your day, end your day. And it's about what three things do you want to accomplish, or what three things were great today. Basically, all it is about gratitude and celebrating yourself and seeing things in a positive light, because that goes back again to mindset. It is all about those things. And celebration is just part of it. And I don't think we do it enough for ourselves. It's always about someone else, which is great. I mean, I still encourage definitely celebrate each other, but take a minute and celebrate you. What were you most, what do you want to celebrate about you this week or even today? I'm celebrating the fact that I haven't lost my mind during this move, and have not been allowed myself to be too overwhelmed with the stress of all the pieces of moving. Moving's just stressful because it's disorganization. I don't like clutter. But I'm celebrating the fact of, gosh, I did all of this and good for me. You know what? My place is a little messy right now, and I've got boxes in here and I don't love it, but I'm so excited and I am celebrating this next chapter, this next story, this next season of my life. And I'm really excited for a new beginning and a new space that is going to bring new creativity, new thoughts. And I think that's what you get from being in a new space, which I'm also going to get when I'm I'm house sitting down for Christy while she's in Asia. And I will be at the beach, which is my church. So that will be another celebration of being able to have a new surrounding to create, or to, I should say, to enhance creativity. Because when you change your space, it definitely does that. So many things to celebrate. I mean, we can honestly find so many things every single day of every little thing that we do, but we just need to take the time to do it. So what are your thoughts? And I see we've
Yeah,
got.
no, I think you hit it right on the nose, and it's really just scheduling. I mean, you can be businesslike when it comes to your fun and enjoyment,
Mhm.
right? You can put it down as on a calendar. You can make plans for yourself, just like you would for others. Um, and celebrate as much as you can every day. It should, I'm in a new town. I went through a tunnel. I said, wow, this is an amazing tunnel, right? And I celebrated it. I had a great dinner and had some ice cream at the end. And you say, what would you normally be doing this time of night? You'd probably be going to bed, and now you're out in a new town having ice cream with people, and it's a whole new world. And Dean makes a good point here. It says, I find myself feeling guilty at times because of celebration. It seems the only time my brothers and their families get together is to celebrate a life that's gone. We only
Mm,
get together at funerals. I come here because I feel better about myself. And I think that's so true, is when someone's gone and you can't do anything more for them, no matter how much you would have wanted to, you've already past the time frame, and at all the funerals, it never ceases to amaze me. There's always some relative who comes up and says, oh, I was just going to call her or him. I was due for a visit, you know and and then I always say, well, there's like 60 other relatives here. Who are you going to call this week or visit, you
right,
know
right.
and, and it's the same thing. Is you got to be with who you're with, the way you want to be with people, and the way you want people to be with you. And when you find that, you're not at war, right? You could take off the helmets and the armor, right? And sit down and start working together, start having fun together, because I think everybody can relate to what Dean said,
Yeah.
because it's universal.
Yes.
It's interesting, when someone's sick, people will visit them. When they're well, they won't. So what do you got to do? Get sick to get family to see you, or send a card? I mean, it's that's the way the world is. That's the way the world has always been. But there's always 5, 10, 15% of the people who decide they can do better. right? They can get together with people right now who are the 15% of the people who don't want to see someone die so they could see other people. So that's an important point, Dean, because we're
Mhm.
talking serious business here.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about how to sell insurance. We're talking about how to live a happier, healthier life. And, even what Kelly's saying about now helping Christy out at her home, that probably would have never happened if it wasn't for this show and their show, even though they knew each other,
That's right.
right? All of a sudden, things that you're doing start attracting things you want to do, or like, is a place of worship for people. And when you start thinking, it's always been in front of me, I never took the time to see it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I've had ice cream in the past and I probably didn't even know what I ate, because I was thinking about something else or worrying about something else, and I think, Eckhart Tolle was always important for his book about living in the now.
Yes, I love that book.
Yeah, and once you live in the now, the past is done, the future's yet to show up.
Mhm.
Enjoy you with where you're at and make things happier for people, because it confounds people to do so many wonderful things and think they can get successful themselves.
Mhm.
But because no one thinks that way or acts that way, no one takes advantage of it, right? The future is yours. You just got to decide on it. Uh, Here's Paul. Paul is everywhere. I got to believe that Paul
It
clones
is.
along the way. Kim, I'm so happy and glad to hear that. I'd love to know what was your favorite memory and experience. Uh, oh, here, Kim went on vacation. So glad to be, was great. And I feel reset. Celebration is a vacation.
Yes, and it was, and I wanna, she wasn't here the day that I said this because she was traveling, but happy belated birthday. There is a celebration, Kim. I'm certain that's why you were traveling. So happy birthday to you from all of us. We did mention it on your birthday.
Yeah, because Kelly mentioned it. I wished Kim a happy birthday, which wouldn't have happened without community. So
Right.
it's really sharing things that have value to someone else or in the group, with the group, because that's the celebration,
Mhm.
right? If Dean comes back and says, hey, because of this, I talked to my brothers yesterday,
Yeah.
that's a celebration, right?
Yes.
Even if you told your brothers, check out the show sometime,
Yeah.
maybe that'll move things in the right direction. Valerie says, I have a higher uh, power and they don't work in an office. Well, Valerie's got an incredible story, going to AA for 26 years now, shows tremendous dedication and commitment. Like I say, in support groups, when you're up, the meetings need you. When you're down, you need the meetings, right?
Yeah.
So either way, you're bringing something to the people who need it, or you're receiving, and that's the best part of it, because someone's got a little extra to share. You
Yes.
know, uh, Benita's here, new name, I believe. I think I've seen you, but hopefully, what we're sharing is valuable. Ice is here.
Yes.
Ice has been tremendous, along with Olu. And you know what's so beautiful? Doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter what you do,
Mhm.
what you are before the show, what you are after the show. It's just bringing what the show shares,
Mhm.
right? Is just getting into the mode of action. And that's where the fun begins. Dom, my mentor, told me you need to have more fun, never expected to make memories and celebrate with her traveling the world. Why not have more fun? There was a song, Can You Ever Have Too Much Fun? You know? And it's true. I don't know if you can have too much fun, no different than you can have too much of anything. But here's what it is. How responsible are you with all your fun?
Yeah.
Right? And that's the key, And I think if people measure themselves and measure their time better,
Mhm.
because who cares if you win or lose? I go to some of
Right.
my grandkids' games, nobody's any good, right? You're too young to be any good. So why even keep score? I always tell them, hey, if you're out running around in the sunshine, playing with other kids, if you don't want to kick the ball, don't kick the ball. But you're having fun, you're outside because then the competitiveness goes away.
Mhm.
It's like, well, she's doing this and he's doing that. I say, yeah, but you're doing this. Probably the opposite, but it doesn't matter, right? How many people are ever going to go pro anyways? Olu says, okay, knows Benita. Um, let's get something. Here's Ice that says we have to celebrate every moment like today meeting here. Every
Yeah.
moment may be your only moment, you know? And,
Yes.
and that's why delay? And maybe you'll celebrate today and tomorrow. It's not like you could just put a deposit down for next Thursday and have fun. Who
Mhm.
knows if Thursday's ever going to show up? Andrea says, I walked in the rain today because I felt like it. And now I'm celebrating that I did it, feeling nice and warm.
I love
Isn't that beautiful? I mean, just to create a situation knowing from cold and wet, you're going to naturally go to nice and warm. Maybe you should do another one of those later today.
that.
So here we have this one didn't come through. Okay, I think this is it. Wow, well said. You are so right. Everyone's life is enhanced when we serve each other with kindness, acceptance, and love. I appreciate your response. And it's so cheap. It's so easy. You know what it is? It's just redirecting your words in a different way for a different purpose. You're still going to say things to people.
Yeah.
Why not say them with some kindness, with some thoughtfulness, like some concern? And you don't talk that long, so why not slow it down so it's meaningful?
Right.
It's just catching yourself, and then little things done right over time compound. What do
Yeah.
you think, Kelly? I mean, it looks like we hit the right word with the right group.
I know. So many things. I mean, because there's celebration in everything, which now is going to come to me because it's all about positivity and how we look at things in the world. Because I could look at things and say, "Wow, that really stinks," because I don't like that I did this, but or you can say, wow, that was great because of this. I mean, our mindset, and I know I've said this before, but if you have a negative mindset, whatever situation you go into, you're going to pull out all the information to feed the belief that it sucks. If you go into it thinking like this is going to be amazing, you're going to pull out every piece of information to prove that belief because that's what we do. Um, with Andrea talking about going and walking in the rain, I mean, of course, I think that's so wonderful because I can picture it only because I know her too. And I'm sure she had a big grin on her face while she was doing it. But it reminded me of how I try to approach a lot of things and now in life, because it is about focusing on the positive in everything. Um, I was moving some stuff out to my car one day to load up and do a load to the house that I'm moving to. And the way that my hands were loaded, something fell on the ground. And I kind of stood there and I was looking at it and like, how the heck am I going to pick that up? And I can't put this down on the ground because I had clothes in my hand. And it was just a moment that I took to absorb, and then I started laughing just out loud because it was funny. And I thought, here I feel paralyzed because I'm holding these clothes in my hands and I can't bend over to pick up what I dropped. And of course, I worked it out and it was fine. But when I got in my car, I just kind of thought, well, I just gave some neighbor either a good chuckle saying, like, who's the crazy old lady? Or they were just like, wow, good for her because she just is laughing at herself because it is funny. It's like the world isn't going against me to be like, you need to stop here. And, something's trying to go awry. Again, mindset comes back and it is about how we look at things, and every single thing has a joy in it in some way. And, to Dean's point, which I do want to go back to the whole family and celebration because that to me is a different category of celebration. He's so right that you get together with family And it does seem, and I will say, especially the older we get, that the only time that we see family are for not great occasions. I'm very blessed to say the most recent, 3 weeks ago today, happy 3 week anniversary to my nephew Dylan, who got married. And, what an amazing celebration that was. I got to see family I don't get to see very often. And, um, wonderful celebration. And those things are also wonderful. But again, it goes back to the whole thing. It's not just about those things. While it is a great celebration and a gift in so many different ways, every single day is a gift and something to celebrate. And we can find something in every day. And I do say this as someone who has suffered definitely with situational depression, is what helps me ever get through it when I've been in it, is having a positive to focus on and celebrating the small things. Um, One of the exercises that I used to do when I was at my very lowest point is I would just have a list that had check boxes on it, because there is something psychological about us going, I did that, check. Um, because we need to accomplish things just as human beings, because that's what we do. But it was a simple list of get up, get dressed, go out and smile at somebody. And because generally when we smile at someone, someone else smiles back. And now to take that to a celebratory thing, since going through such a horrible times in my life, and growing through it to the other side of it and healing, I celebrate the fact that I've made it through a difficult time. And I celebrate too by looking at other people who I see maybe in a grocery store or walking in the park or wherever, because I am that person that says hi to everybody. and and I more so do it to people who, and you can tell when you see people, you can feel when someone feels like something's up, and you don't obviously know what it is. Go out of your way to take a second and say hi, compliment them on something. And I do that as a way to celebrate all of the people that did that when I was that person, because I was that person that was walking around with my head down and not smiling, and not really wanting to be around anyone. I didn't want to be anywhere at any time, but celebrating the fact of those people who I don't even know their names. They don't know mine. They know nothing about my story. But for whatever reason, that day they smiled at me or said something to me, and I needed it. And celebrating it back to give it to someone else. And that goes to the whole pay it forward. And part of what this show is all about is paying it forward, sharing the sunshine with one another, being the light, and letting it ripple throughout everyone else's days. Because when we show up as our best self and celebrating that, then it does ripple effect, because everyone will leave being like, wow, I feel better now that I'm here. And you will show up differently to those in your life, whether or not it's family or some stranger in the grocery store. What are your thoughts on that, Don?
Yeah, I think you're doing great today, Kelly. I think that I was just thinking actually that part of celebration is reunion, right?
Yes.
And first you start with union, right? Which is the community. That's
Mhm.
when where people come together. When you reunion or renew every day. So
Mhm.
by reuniting and now saying, "Hey, we know each other," because really we need for this to really scale, it has to be based on integrity and honor and all those qualities. And to be honorable, it's like, okay, realize where we are, where we've come from.
Mhm.
Now, how do we all who have gotten stronger? And not so much just in muscles, but awareness. I think that's really what we're building is, hey, I didn't know that existed. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know there was a person like that. Whatever the case,
Mhm.
now it's like, okay, you know what it is, you know how to do it. Now start giving, start bringing, right? So if you've got something And it used to be, and I think that's another barrier we could break down. It used to be stage presence. How do I look on video? How do I feel going live? Now it's what do you have that's precious to you that could be supportive of other people, right? And even people said the other day, well, I've still got my great grandmother's hats in a box.
That was me.
Well, Harvey was a great innovator because he's starting to bring props.
Yes,
Right?
I have now nicknamed or coined the term Harvey prop tuck.
Well, and you see but he took it on himself, and what it says is he's
So good.
thinking ahead of time, he's preparing.
Yeah,
Why not, you know, prepare for something that takes no preparation,
that's right.
right? Why not create a few things to help you? And what I realized is the reason the show is getting better and better is because my portion of it is getting smaller and smaller, and more people are able to share what they're into, bring their props, bring their stories, bring their lessons. Like when you're a kid, it was always like show and tell. What are you going to bring to show and tell? Right? And it could have been a vacation something or something present you got or just your pet. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
And everybody should go back to somewhat being childlike, return to innocence, return to blind faith and blind trust. When you know you're around people, you don't need to fear,
That's right.
right?
And one of
And
the things with to play on Harvey's props, because as you were saying that, all of them celebrate something. The plant was a celebration of his father, and the sharpener that he had was a celebration, I think, of his grandfather and his father, because he was playing. Or definitely sharing the story of where they came from, which is a celebration. I mean, so what a beautiful way to transition into, of course, celebration. That's what he does, and it's his props are so thoughtful, and they make us all relate to stories. And Harvey's just a great storyteller, and he is so able to be vulnerable and share, which we all connect with. um, but now I'm one of those that I'm like, what's he gonna bring next Friday? Like you kind of can't wait now because it's like, what story is Harvey gonna bring? So we're almost pre-celebrating now because he has set a precedent of what he does. And I don't say that in a way to put any pressure on you, Harvey. But I do think that you've started a trend for yourself that is it's so beautiful, because the plant from his father was certainly something that stuck out to me when he was telling it because I thought it was just so beautiful, and that his wife, I think when she touched it, one of the branches broke off, and it was referred to as it was his dad shaking her hand and welcoming her. Um, there's just so many beautiful things, but that again is a celebration. And even talking about the hat, I was the one about the with the hats, and I have my it's actually out in the other room. My great grandmother, I have one of her like it's a kind of a pillbox hat with a little bit of a veil on it. And as a kid, I would play in her closet because she had all these like magnificent clothes and shoes, and me and one of my cousins would play dress up. And I've kept it not just in honor of her, but it is to celebrate the memory of her. And I feel watching it age, is a little bit painful in one sense, but because of course when I took it out, I always put it on, and I'm just transcended back to the time of being up in the attic of her home and playing in all of her storage boxes with all of those things. And it's a celebration, and that's a long story of what Harvey is doing, which I think is so wonderful, and another way for us to talk about celebration. I mean, honestly, I don't think there's anything that we can't turn now into celebration or remind ourselves that, hey, there's something to celebrate all over the place. We just need to be present in the moments, and take a breath and be again present in the moment and enjoy it and celebrate it.
Oh yeah, and I think that people hear this. I mean, everything we talk about is rippling in front of us,
Mhm.
whether it's celebration, whether it's sharing situations that could have been and now might be in the future. You can't change the past. You can learn from it, you can grow from it. And there's a lot of things that you'll never be 100% with. I know I've made mistakes I'm still embarrassed by a little bit or disappointed by on how it worked out. But that gives you a range of feelings,
Yeah.
right? You want to be able to say, I still feel this, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I don't feel anything towards that, and in a lot of ways, there's nothing wrong with that either. Because you are who you are, and you should respect who you are for who you are, and knowing you're a work in progress,
Yeah.
right? You're not a completed, vehicle. You're customizing, optimizing, including, and it's really the moment you're in with the people. Too many people are into personal accomplishment. It should really not be personal development. It should be collaborative or collaborating development that people do. Is have a bigger family to start with. So many people are envious when, they were the only child, didn't have any cousins, and they see someone else who has like 8 brothers and sisters and 40 cousins, and they do all these cool things. But you don't have control over that.
Right.
But you can build 40 people in your family if you choose to. And you can build the ones you want to, where you can't really narrow out the ones you got. So it's picking, choosing, and knowing that you're alive. And that's a celebration in itself, right?
Yes.
Knowing you can breathe, you can walk, hopefully you can enjoy anything. Like I say, a blueberry, you can make a celebration out of. You can look at all the pictures in your home and celebrate all these wonderful people. And it doesn't matter how you get started, do it for other people. And ask yourself, what would your family want you to be doing right now? What did they invest in? What did they struggle with to get you where you are? What was their hope? And if you can live for others, eventually you'll learn how to live for yourself if that's how you start. And if you can't do that, learn to live with others who are doing it, because we can all make it. And some of us are already there, some of us are really close. So we're not talking about dramatic rescue here. We're talking a few words of inspiration, encouragement, support. And if you keep layering it on, eventually you'll fill up. It's like electric cars. I see some people got superchargers. Other people take all night, but they only drive 30 miles a day, so they don't have, you know what I mean? So it's all relative. I want to also, there's a Benitha who I guess wrote a book, and everybody, yeah, Benitha Samuels, who I haven't seen lately, uh, but wrote a book and is so excited. And I'm more than happy if you want to type it in comments, whatever the book is, and get exposure.
Yeah.
So saying what you're doing is not selling. Selling what you're doing is selling.
Right.
So if you wrote a book, that's worth celebrating. That's worth sharing that you did it. If someone's got anything going on, as far as just want to share it versus sell it, that's what this is for. Because any way we can help anybody who's part of the group and really follows the protocol of thoughtfulness and respect and love is welcome to share who they are and welcome to come on the stage. You know what I mean? So I'm looking for more people. I'd love to have Dean. I'd love to have Anne, all these wonderful people. But again, your comfort level is our comfort level. So I
Mhm.
don't want anybody to step outside of that. But just know you're welcome, appreciated, and all you got to do is say the word, and we'll make something happen for you. So let me just, Paul's, like I say, is everywhere. I don't know where he sleeps, how he sleeps.
I know.
Every show, he's doing everything on vacation. Okay, so the vacation was a little bit, but you made the most of it. Use your power to transmute mute situations by choosing your reactions. Andrea, is your life does not happen to you, it happens for you. You know,
Yes.
a couple words switched around could make all the difference in the world as far as mindset. Profound as always, Andrea.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andrea is just great. And, you know, I think that was so purposeful and wonderful to offer those free
Yes.
sessions to people because they would have never taken it any other way.
That's right. And I think one of the things, gosh, and I had a conversation last week with someone about this. We we tend to put ourselves last, and and I kind of speak that more because I was speaking with a mom, um, and and women in general, but I'm also, this applies to men, so I'm not saying it's one sided, but I'm a woman, so I can speak for a woman. We can tend to put ourselves last and somehow find it difficult to rationalize, like, I don't want to have to pay to do something that's going to some coursework to for self-development. And it's like, why wouldn't you? I mean, you're worth it. Like, take the time. And that's why when somebody like an Andrea, and take it, take the offer when it is out there, you have zero to lose and everything to gain. Because there will be some takeaway, and even for me, and I will say, I there was multiple takeaways that I've had, and I've been through many, not just counseling, life coaching. I'm life coach certified. I mean, I've done so many things, but I still learned something that I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that I still need to take care of this one little piece that I haven't let go of, and I didn't realize it, or giving me a different perspective of how I viewed something. But this goes to the whole thing, and I know this was another topic recently, and I can't remember, but it is about when you're around other people, don't close yourself off, because if we're different, and I think that's society is so much. If we don't agree on this, and this, we cannot be friends or communicate, which I think is completely insane, in my opinion, because I love people that have a different walk of life, a different perspective. That expands me, and I'm so curious about other people's perspectives. And like this example with Andrea's coursework, that it was like, oh wow, I would never have seen that in myself had I not attended that course. So I do feel like, I'm not pushing anyone to do Andrea's coursework, but I am recommending, if she does offer another free one, take it. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So I can't help but celebrate people in my community, because y'all are just truly amazing, and everyone here is worthy of celebration.
Yeah, and we know what it does for people. See, the things we're advocating, you will feel as soon as you do it.
Yep.
You know, it's not take it for 3 months and maybe something will happen. Is when you start laughing at yourself, whether you're blowing out your candle on your brownie or where you're dancing something that you would never dance in public, you know, if you just let yourself go,
Mm.
shake it out, get yourself, relaxed. And whatever time it takes, it's worth it because you're doing a service to the next person to show up a kinder, happier, more relaxed person. You got to stop the trend if it's not serving you well. But if it is, stay there for as long as you can. If you're finding happiness and joy and wherever you are and whatever you're doing, extend it. That's the time you start taking things out of your schedule. If you're having the most beautiful meal, enjoy it. And that's the key. Too many people get the one goal, and as soon as they touch the pole, they're running to the next one
Mhm.
instead of really enjoying all the hard work, all the time, that went into getting it and will go into getting the next one. And that's the thing is once you're done with your celebration, it's back to work on the next one.
Mhm.
Right? So you might as well take some time and enjoy it because you're going to go back to work. But when work provides joy and comfort for so many other people with you, it's like, what else would you choose to do? And you want to challenge yourself. You want to stretch yourself. You want to get in areas you wouldn't have been able to without that. Hey, let's look at what's on the other edge there. Let's take a few more steps. They say if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. You
Yes.
know? And and I love seeing what I don't know. I love even people telling me things that I don't understand and sometimes don't appreciate. Gives me time to ponder. Throw that up in the air for a few minutes and see what comes out of it. Yesterday's history and tomorrow's a mystery. So celebrate the present of here and now. That's
Yeah,
all there is. This is not a controversy.
that's right.
Yesterday's gone, tomorrow's not here, and today is what you got. I mean, it's as true as anything is going to be true. Ma'am, I celebrate your sharing yesterday. So much insightful sharing, thankful. And on the other side of the coin is if you got something to share that you've been hesitating, if you want to put on a free something,
Mhm.
if you want to sample something with people, and that's when Andrea came on and she didn't know really what to do, and she was really insightful to ask.
Yeah.
'Cause I'd rather grant permission than deal with forgiveness.
Mhm.
Especially when someone knew that it would be helpful. And when we were talking prior to the show, Andrea told me it's like I've got 3 people. I need 2 more to make it go. I said, once we put it on the show, you'll get more than two. It'll be complete, and that's a great thing because of what you're doing. And why not offer it to the people you know best and see best? Why would you have to go out and offer it to somebody you don't even know who might be interested in the subject but not know you?
Right, and
So,
I think that's another thing about community, right? To celebrate for sure is if anyone, specifically here, if you just want feedback from people on like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this or I'm trying this new program within my business, would you be willing to participate? Like you have a built-in focus group. Because I don't think that you would struggle getting people to be like absolutely happy to give feedback or help out with something, which is another thing to celebrate. Um, because that is what this community does for one another. And I know I've said this a lot of times too, is and this is a good time to remind everyone, if you are not connected with people in the chat, please do it. And I also say that everyone here, it's like they're pre-vetted. I can personally say any offline calls that I've had, Zoom calls one-on-one, have been wonderful. Not always people that I can necessarily do work with, but they've certainly left I now know enough. So if I meet someone else and I'll be like, you know what? That's not what I do, but I just so happen to know somebody that does. And vice versa, because you never know what door opens just by your connection with someone else here and having a conversation. I don't know about y'all that are listening, but I know one of the things that with my inbox on LinkedIn that gets inundated sometimes that I'm like, oh man, there's so much to go through. And so much of it is garbage. I mean, because it is just the robot, you know, AI message string trying to get you to respond. But if I see somebody's name that I know from here, I always open it and read it. And just reference the fact, hey, saw you on Don's show, who or I saw you in the chat, I saw you make a comment. And I promise you, people will connect. There has not been one person from here that I've reached out to that has not been what they have said or claimed or said that they would be open to have a conversation. And again, have a great connection, great conversation. You're just kind of speeding up the whole process of the connection through the regular a LinkedIn process, in my opinion, because we're all getting to know, another phrase that I say a lot, the people behind the profile. You don't know me by reading me on my profile. Kinda. I mean, but it's your perception of what words that I use, but you have a totally different point of view when you actually see somebody speak, talk, comment, interact with, and then you're past all that beginning
Mhm.
fluff stuff that you have to trudge through to be like, is this person trying to sell me something? Because if I connect with you and the very first message I get is, hey, let's jump on a call because I think I can get you this many leads
Mhm.
per month, I'm not interested because you're just trying to sell me. You're not trying to connect. And this is all about human connection, support, safety, and encouraging each other to, do the best they can do. Collaboration, not competition, and all of those great things. And bottom line is, we're just all here celebrating one another and how we can help each other become the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah, and we're doing it. That's the beauty of it. It's one thing to have a mission,
Yeah.
but it's also great to have accomplished so many missions incrementally. I mean, me and Kelly have been doing this probably for 5 months now,
Yeah.
and it has transformed and evolved in so many wonderful ways because I believe we were open-minded. We were willing to include people, willing to interact with people, but more importantly, willing to accept people and their ideas and integrate them with ours. It was never a competition. It was always a share. It was always pile some of my stuff on your stuff and pile some of your stuff. It's like when you go to lunch with somebody and you don't mind forks going back and forth. It's like have some of my salad, I'll have some of your sandwich, and what else do you got to share? And it's so much more fun that way
Yes.
because you come away with exactly more than you could have by yourself. It's like how do you clap with one hand? You can't. And when you're in joyful union, and we talk about reunion and celebration of that, it puts everything into context.
That's
And
right.
what's the alternative? What's the reason for staying outside of the fun place, of not coming in when everybody's welcoming, inviting? And here's one more thing is if you go to somebody's anything and you don't like it, you can leave. I mean, you can be there for a minute. It just, it wasn't like you packed a bag and you had to get on a plane and go to it. Sample, play with it. I think if you can become more whimsical, you
Mhm.
know, more just, hey, that is so funny, or that is so silly, or that's so ridiculous, even if it's so awful, right? It doesn't matter what it is, it's what you take away from it and what you bring towards the next thing, because you're always in motion, hopefully. And hopefully you're climbing, helping other people climb, enjoying the climb. I mean, can it ever be possible that every day towards something worthwhile can't be just as enjoyable as what's worthwhile? And if you can get to that point, you don't have to go any further. Y- You know, Stop, enjoy, stay if it keeps serving you. But here's what will happen because I've seen it happen. Your cup will be so overflowing, you'll be looking for ways to share it more. You'll be looking for making sure it gets as much value. Andrew Carnegie, who was the motivation behind Napoleon Hill, when he died, and here is a man who came in from Ireland, as a stowaway almost. He couldn't even afford passage. He got a job, had no education in a steel mill, working at the lowest position. Anyways, he grew, became the richest man in the world. And when he died, they opened up his desk and he had a note to himself. And he said, the first half of my life, I'm going to build the greatest fortune in the world. And the next half, I'm going to give it all away. And he did. And he created the Carnegie libraries. He put libraries everywhere. And, that's inspiration, right? For someone to come from nothing, make it, and know that once they made it, now they got half their life to give it away to someone else. And I think that's the key. Help yourself so you can get strong enough to help a lot more others. Take care of yourself so you don't worry about yourself when you're dealing with others. You're already full, right? You're already got more than you need. Now it's time to help others because people look at exchanges and transactions instead of feelings. You know, when you help somebody who just needed it so bad and was so easy for you to do, you go home and you forget about the gas bill or why the berries didn't taste as good as they should. You know, you now you're getting into real life with real people doing wonderful things together. And this is just starting. I mean, we're a small group of 40, 50, 100 even out of 900 million. If LinkedIn opened the taps, right, and did anything to share this, we would be even further ahead. But here's the thing, we can share it. We can comment more to everybody. You
That's right.
know, I mean, when you take something, you know, it's like take a penny, give a penny, used to be when pennies meant something. Uh, it's the same thing here. Even walking the park, I saw places where it's like free books. People would drop books off in a little place, and then somebody walking by would have a book, you know, and they could read something. Well, if you've got the power to give, if you've got the power to share, and it's hitting a button, running a few lines for people, that's exactly the model you're going to get for yourself,
Mhm.
right? Because everybody remember, you know, and that's why I'm obligated when people support the show and me. It's not my personal opinion that matters. It's keeping the principles intact that if someone gives, they need to be recognized and they need to be given to, right? And I think that's so important. So celebration, I think, was a wonderful word because of all of the people who embraced it and then came back with something. So with that said, I know we're past, but you know, on weekends we're a little bit open because I'm not as conscious at top of the hour, getting to another meeting or call. So Kelly, last words that you can think of?
Yes, it's the weekend, so we're celebrating the fact that people generally don't have meetings at the top of the hour. I just want to say, I mean, another great topic. I mean, so many different ways to take it. And I am celebrating the fact that I got to share this morning with all of you, and of course, you, Dawn. And as I usually end up, and I can't help but well, I want to end up, I guess, maybe a little bit different. Go out and be sure that you're celebrating something today. Purposefully go out in your day and celebrate the little things that maybe you haven't normally paid attention to that you should celebrate. No matter how small or how big, find something to celebrate. And then my usual ending is please go out and shine so bright that others can't help but shine too.
That's so perfect, you know. And if and when you're done celebrating yourself, if you want to go for extra credit, celebrate somebody else in your life.
Yes.
You know, say, hey, I was just thinking about you, and I'm really, really encouraged by something you just did, or thanks for just being who you are. That's a celebration. So no one's got to like,
Relative, right? That you we were that Dean mentioned earlier. Call it relative that you don't want to wait to see at a reunion that you don't want to be
no,
at.
that's true. You know, and maybe build a bridge so if someone does go, you don't feel like, boy, I wish I would have told them something, you know, that I meant to say. So, you know, and eventually it'll be a good habit, you know, and maybe they'll start calling you just to say hello and seeing how you're doing. So, with that said, thank you, everybody. Go out and have the best day you can and rest up in 23 hours. We've got Gretchen Skelka here. And then Tuesday, Andrea's back, so you can see her live and in person. And I can't thank Kelly enough. Sometimes I enjoy just having a show with me and Kelly because you know we harmonize so well, and everything we do is kind of seamless. So you know there's something to variety, and there's something to tradition too. So mix it all up. Have a great day. Celebrate yourself. You're worth it. Take
Yeah.
care. Bye for now.